Hello! In today's video, I'm going to be walking through the steps that I use when creating portraits from photographs. Firstly, I always use a reference photo when I'm drawing. Even if I weren't drawing a person's exact likeness, I would still use a reference photo. I want to get my proportions correct. I want to make sure, they actually look like people and they could exist on this earth. I want to get it all correct. So I'm going to use a reference photo no matter what. I always use an iPad or, a tablet because I like to be able to zoom in. But if you prefer to print your photo or use your phone even, you could do that. But the first tip, the first hack I've got for y'all is to use a grid. Using a grid is the best strategy I have found. I overlay one on my image and I overlay one on my paper, and then I literally copy box by box the entire image. On the tablet, I'm using the program Affinity Designer. I like it because there's only a one-time fee. So once you buy it, you just have the program instead of a subscription, because who can stand those? First, create a new document and set the document size to be the same size as your paper. I'm using 11 by 14 piece of paper. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my document 11 by 14. Then I'm gonna click the document icon and press place image, and I'm gonna pull that image. Now I found my image from just a copyright-free image source, Unsplash, but you can get any image that you want. Next, click the document icon and click guides to overlay the grid. If we input 11 and 14 with 0 for the gutter, we're gonna have a 1-inch grid. That's not enough detail for me, so I actually made mine half-inch grid, so I inputted 22 and 28. You can change the color of these guides. I usually start with a white, gray, or black, and then change them as I go, depending on which part of the picture I'm looking at. Because white's gonna show up better on, her hair, where it's darker. Okay, then make the same size grid on your paper. Be sure not to press too hard because we're totally erasing this after. My second tip is one of the best drawing hacks I've come across for drawing from any kind of reference image. Literally, anytime I'm drawing from a photo or a picture or any kind of other reference that's not physically in front of me, like a cup, I'm going to do this hack. Draw upside down. Drawing upside down disconnects your brain from your eyes. Basically, your brain wants to say, you're drawing an eyeball. I know what an eyeball looks like. It's a circle. And then you're gonna draw a circle and it's gonna look cartoonish. It's not gonna look right. It's not gonna look realistic. You want to draw what you see, not what you think you see. So drawing upside down kind of disconnects that thought process, and it just helps you to see it completely differently. Okay, so after I've flipped my image and I've zoomed in and I just start box by box. I'm literally just copying exactly what I'm seeing. I'm just laying some basic shapes to get started, getting all my proportions and placement situated before I go in and add any details. As soon as I'm done getting the basic shape of my model onto the paper, I'm erasing this grid. You want to erase your grid as soon as you can, because the more you work on your paper and your oils are going to transfer onto that paper, it's going to be harder to erase later. So erase it as soon as you can. Same thing with inside her. As soon as I feel comfortable with all of the placements and, the proportions of everything, I'm going to go and erase the grid as I work. I don't know if you can tell, but literally the entire time, I'm just consistently, constantly erasing what I've drawn and redrawing it. Just again and again and again and again. It's just practice. It's just literally going in and doing it as many times as necessary to make it right. Don't be discouraged. It's all gonna come together. Flip back and forth between right side up and upside down. The more you do that, the more you flip your image, the better it is, the more you're going to be disconnecting that thought process, and you're just going to be drawing what you see. Again, I'm just shading, adding detail, moving things. I erase just as much as I draw. must have done these lips like 30 times because they weren't wide enough, you know? And again, it was my brain telling me, no, they're this wide. But then I would go through and I would look and at my grid and I'm like, no, they extend all the way to here. That's why it's so helpful to use a grid. It's not cheating. Like I said hack, but it's not cheating. People have been using grids for all time to enlarge things, to change the, you know, to transfer things from this to that. The great masters, everybody's using grids. It's fine. It's not cheating. I promise. So again, I'm just adding layer by layer, just going in, adding more and more detail as I go. You might want to toggle your grid off at some point to just look at your picture as a whole. I'm not adding all of the detail onto her shirt. I'm just putting it on her shoulder and in the creases and just giving the illusion of texture versus like actually drawing every single line. Ooh, and I like to use paper underneath my hand so I don't smudge what I've already worked so dang hard on. I'm just gonna use a paper to like be a barrier. Oh, and another thing that you can't see because I'm working so fast, I'm using an electric eraser, which I love. It's got a really, really tiny little tip, you know? So it's nice and small and it's electric, so it just spins around. I love it. And I use that on the hair. I use that on the eyes. I use that anytime I want to get any kind of small detail, you know? And then the other thing that you can't see, but I use all of the time is a brush. You can get it at like in the drafting section, any kind of art supply store or craft store even. And it's just a brush. Instead of using your hand to swipe across your drawing to like get rid of like the eraser marks, I just use this brush. But again, I've sped this up, so it's like too fast for you to even see it, but I'm using a brush. So that's it. It's just a process. It takes a long time. I really truly believe that anybody can draw this way. If you want to copy a portrait, anybody can use these tools to do exactly that. It's very simple. You don't need any formal training. You just need to make a grid and go for it. I hope this was helpful to you, and I'll be back next time with more tips and tricks for you. Thank you.